Hey guys, welcome back to Under the Radar Books. It's Brittany and today is part 2 of my check this out video, everything I have checked out from the library. I have so many things checked out that I had to do this in 2 parts, which is crazy. I know there's no way I'll get to all these books, but I still would like to share them with you so you guys can maybe find some things you haven't heard of before or let me know if you've read any of them. I would love to hear it. So the first one in this part is Fledgling Lied by Octavia E. Butler. And an African-American female author who writes sci-fi, which is, I guess, a very rare thing. And I've been wanting to read her books for a while. I think this is one of her only standalone novels, so this is why I grabbed it, and I believe it follows a young girl who either gets in an accident or just wakes up and she doesn't realize what she is, but she is a vampire, I believe, or kind of something down that vein. It kind of sounds a little bit similar to Let the Right One In, which I absolutely adored, and I really wanted to try her writing, and I've heard really, really great things about this, so I went ahead and grabbed it. Next up was just an impulse grab, and that is The Kings and Queens of Rome by Daniel Wallace, and this is the author of Big Fish. It says, from the celebrated author of Big Fish comes an imaginative, moving novel about 2 sisters, their dark legacy, and the magical town that entwines them. So this sounds really enjoyable, kind of like a quick, easy, fun read. It has a beautiful cover, sounds like just magical realism, so I just grabbed it and thought it would be a fun one to get to. Next up, I grabbed All My Puny Sorrows by Miriam Towles, and I've heard a lot about this. And this is a story of 2 sisters who are very different and some struggles that they go through trying to keep their family together, and it just sounds very real and raw. I know Nicole over at Dorka Brain really, really loved it, and I love her recommendations. We share a lot of similarities in our reading taste, so I knew I had to grab it when I saw it. Next up is one that I recently added to my TBR. I really like the New York Review of Books. And this is The Rim of Morning, 2 Tales of Cosmic Horror by William Sloan. And it has an introduction by Stephen King, which is always great. And these were originally published in the 1930s, and then they've been re-put out. So I don't know much about them. I just know that they're horror books. It's really, really dense. This is super heavy, so I might read maybe one at a time. But I am really excited to get to this. I have yet to read anything by NYRB that I don't enjoy, so I'm super excited to see what their horror stuff is like. Next up is The 4 Books by Yan Lianke, and this is translated by Carlos Rojas. And this is one of the books that was nominated for the International Booker Prize, and I know that he is a super popular author in China. His writing has been compared to Kafka, which a lot of books that are compared to Kafka are ones that I end up enjoying. I know it had something to do with a concentration camp and how we view learning systems and things like that, so I'm really interested to pick it up. I love reading books in translation, so I hope this one turns out to be really, really good. Next up is one I'm super excited about. It is a mystery book called The Outsmarting of Criminals, and it says, a mystery introducing Miss Felicity Prim, and this is by Stephen Rigolisi. And I know that this follows a young woman who is super bookish, and she reads so many mystery novels that she decides to start solving crimes herself. This sounds super cozy, and I absolutely adore this cover. It reminds me of Edward Gorey's illustrations, which I really, really enjoy. So I'm really excited to pick this up. It's been a while since I've read a cozy mystery, and I think it'll be a really, really good comfort read. Next up is a poetry collection called Hold Your Own by Kate Tempest. I believe this was originally recommended by Jen from Jen Campbell, but since then lots of other people have read it and really, really loved it. I don't even know exactly what this is about, but I'm super excited to get to it. It's really, really short, and I know that I will pick it up before it is due back, and I will keep you guys posted on how it goes. Next up is The Mist in the Mirror by Susan Hill, who is the author of The Woman in Black. This is a ghost story. I think you guys can probably see a theme here that I'm in the mood for horror. So, no idea what this is about, but I am excited for it nonetheless. It's a nice, quick little ghost story, and I will definitely be getting to it. Next up, I was happy to find The Thing Around Your Neck by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. This is a short story collection by this famous author, and I already started reading the first story, and it is so fantastic. The writing is just divine. I have yet to read anything of hers, and so I think this is a really great place to start. Next up is one that I stumbled across and just read this tiny blurb on the front, and I couldn't resist grabbing it. It says The Sunshine Crust Baking Factory by Stacey Wakefield. And the little blurb says, Wakefield reminds us that whatever macho shit boys do, girls can do better. So this sounds like a feminist novel, and I had to see what it was all about. Next up is The Lottery by Shirley Jackson. I've checked this out before and I have yet to get to it, and I really, really want to get to it. I love Shirley Jackson's writing. She's one of my favorite authors of all time, and I need to just at least read the short story The Lottery because it's absolutely famous, so I was excited to grab this one. Next up is another one from $2 Radio, and that is Made to Break by D. Foy. This is about 5 friends who are spending some time at a cabin, and they get in a car accident, and one friend is injured and dying, and then a huge storm comes in and traps them in this cabin, and it's kind of like their struggles and the things they go through and talking about life and death and future, and it just sounds really, really compelling. And like I said, I love $2 Radio, so I really am excited to get to this one. Next up is one that I just randomly found in the nonfiction section, and then Jen actually just talked about it in one of her videos, so I was super excited that I had grabbed it, and that is The Face, a Timecode by Ruth Ozeki. And this is about Ruth forces herself to spend 3 hours in front of a mirror just observing herself and talking about her image and things like that, and it just sounds really, really fascinating. It's super short and tiny, and I think it just sounds like a great little book to read. Next up is one I'm super excited about. I've never even heard of it before, but the title absolutely grabbed me on the spine when I was browsing the shelves, and it is The Thing About Great White Sharks by Rebecca Adams Wright. This is a short story collection that involves some really odd and interesting stories. It says, in this collection's richly imagined title story, our brutal and resourceful protagonist is determined to protect her family from a murderous, shark-ridden world at any cost. Elsewhere, an old woman uncovers a sinister plot while looking after a friend's plants, and a girl in the war-torn countryside befriends an unlikely creature. Also features a futuristic flying circus, and a terrible choice a retired judge must make when faced with the destruction of his beloved robotic dog, and one of the stories follows one of the last survivors of an alien invasion as she seeks for help. So this sounds so interesting. I loved magical realism short story collections and really odd stories, so I'm super excited to get to this one, and if I really love it, I have a feeling that this will find a way onto my shelves. Next up is The Argonauts by Maggie Nelson, and I've heard a lot about this. I don't even know really what it is about, but it is published by Grey Wolf Press, which I really, really enjoy. It says it's a genre-bending memoir that deals with desire, identity, and the limitations and possibilities of love and language. So that sounds super interesting, and it's come highly recommended, so I have a feeling I'm going to enjoy it. Next up is The Folded Clock, a diary by Heidi Ulowitz, and this is about an author who kept a journal and a diary when she was young, and then as she gets older, she realizes that why doesn't she do it anymore? I just read the first little part, and I was really drawn in and really intrigued, so I'm really excited to pick it up. Next up is The Melancholy of Methyl Girl by Catherine N. Valente. This is a sci-fi short story collection by one of my favorite authors, Catherine N. Valente, and I can't wait to get to this. I think it's gonna be a really, really quick read. This cover is just gorgeous, so I will keep you guys posted. And the last book from my massive library haul is one that I actually own, but this is a different translation, which I've heard is a lot better, and that is Battle Royale by Koshan Takami, and this is translated by Yuji Oniki, and this is basically the original Hunger Games is what people say. It follows a class of junior high students that are taken to a deserted island and part of a ruthless authoritarian program. They're provided arms and forced to kill one another until there's only one survivor left standing. And it says Lord of the Flies for the 21st century. It just sounds so interesting, and it is humongous, but I've heard that it's a really, really quick read, and it's interesting, like when I was flipping through, it says how many people are remaining, so 27 students remaining, so I'm hoping to get to this one so that I can read this translation before it is due back. So that is my absolutely massive library haul. Please let me know if any of you guys have read any of these, or if you want to put them on your TBR or pick them up soon. I would love to know. If you guys have any requests for ones that you want me to pick up and maybe review or put in my wrap up, let me know that as well. And I hope you guys are having a wonderful week this week. And until next time, happy reading, guys.